All right, welcome back to the Fit Family Podcast, here for a special episode. Welcome, Dan.
Hello.
Today we are going to be talking about all things travel and I guess how to optimize your travel to make sure that you don't come back, not as though you've undone progress or you've lost results, but more just the way you feel about your own health and how you feel inside your body, because sometimes there can be a little bit of a step back in that regard. You take yourself out of your normal routine, out of your normal flow, not train the way you normally would, not eat the same meals as you normally would. As most of us would realize, our bodies do respond well to consistency. It likes doing the same stuff over and over, and when you throw in a little variable there, you can feel a little bit weird. And if you want to know what that feels like, just stay up 5 hours past your bedtime one time. See how you go.
Not what we advise people to do, but thank you, Ben.
No, so this is an especially relevant topic for us because last week we travelled for my mum's 60th birthday. We went up to Broome. We'd never been, or I'd never been. I don't think you've ever been to WA.
Just William has been.
Yeah, we'd never been to Broome before. It was hot.
It was very warm.
Broome was hot. A far cry from the 14 and raining August Melbourne days, but it was good fun. And there are a few things that we wanted to share based on our own experience of clients in the past, what we would normally do versus what we had to do, and just some things that might help shape your healthy holiday experience.
Yeah, so before we actually went, we reached out to our clients and asked them what health and wellbeing challenges do they face when they're traveling, and we did get a few questions from that. So I think maybe if we talk about them first, before we move into our experience. Yeah,
for sure. We asked the questions in advance, as you mentioned, and the two questions we received kind of bundled into the same thing. So we've got two different topics, and they relate especially to people who are in the process of making progress, not necessarily in the process of just living a healthy lifestyle. And there is a difference, and we'll explain that in our answers. But first question, would prioritizing exercise be a better option than prioritizing food intake when traveling?
What's the first thing, or one of the first things we talk about with our clients that do our one-on-one nutrition?
Controlling the controllable?
Yeah, spot on. So quite often people become almost obsessed with things they have zero control of.
Yeah.
And all that does is increase stress.
And anxiety is literally what anxiety is. Yeah.
So let's talk about the controllables here.
Yes, so this was a very different nutrition holiday for us. And just to be clear as well, this is not a good or bad thing. Every holiday will have a different context. Every holiday will have different people who you're with, different activities, and it really does depend. And not every trip will look the same in regards to the outcomes of it. So we were traveling with my family, and my mum's birthday, we're the only ones with small kids. The routine looks a little different. And we were ready for it.
Not a little different. That's very different to everybody else that we're traveling with.
Yeah, for sure. So, typically they're up later. We need to get our kids into bed a little bit earlier. Otherwise, they fall apart like Troy, the ancient city. And they did a little bit, though. They did well. And we managed to sort of pick and choose the times in which we pushed them and the times in which we were able to get them into bed a little bit early, so they didn't become what's that movie with the things where they add water and they go Gremlins. Yeah, Gremlins.
Yes.
But prioritizing exercise as opposed to prioritizing food, it depends who you're with and the situations that you're with. So with my family, we ate out more than we would normally, so that obviously means that our control of over the food is going to be a little bit less than if we were to cook ourselves. So instantly that's something we have a little bit less control over. We had a couple of really nice meals, like Red Emperor fish. I don't know, shout out Red Emperor fish. It was
it was delicious.
It was delicious. So in that case, we would tend to kind of prioritize general movement because that is something that we do have control over. And, it's just one of those things where, going in, okay, we're going to eat out a little bit more. So make sure that, for me in particular with the training prep I'm in, I had to change it up a little bit because obviously running for 5 hours in Broome, I probably would have died. Actually, I think my pasty skin tone, I was already sunburnt from running for 2 hours, but
in the morning.
Yeah, in the morning, my head was burnt, and I was saying to Dan, this funny little story. I was like, can bald blokes get dandruff? And I was like, no, it was actually it was my scalp peeling from getting sunburnt from my stupid run.
Oh, that's too good.
Yeah. So I would fry up there like an egg. I'm not built for the upper west coast of Australia, that's for sure.
But if we turn this around, so we're saying in this particular example, we were more in control of the movement, so prioritising exercise.
Yeah.
Whereas flip that over, you could be on a completely different holiday, camping really rural, just with your family, and you're not going to, you don't have access to a gym. You don't have access to, stuff you could use for resistance training because your car's jam-packed with everything camping-wise. And you're not going to go out for a run in the middle of nowhere by yourself without reception.
Let's contrast this holiday to when we went away down to Cumberland River a couple of years ago, which is in the Otways in the middle of Lorne and Wye River, and that holiday was completely different because we had absolute control over what we were eating, but it was in a pretty remote area that you couldn't run really because the only way in or out was the Great Ocean Road. No one really wants to run on the Great Ocean Road, especially us, we're scarred. But also the only other trail was basically up a giant mountain behind us. So we had more control over our nutrition in that case than we did over our ability to train up. I think we did some body weight workouts and stuff like that. But the circumstance in which you're traveling, the point is, the circumstance may change every time. You need to kind of flip your focus to make sure that you're not just then driving yourself nuts by what you can't do.
Yeah, so it's dependent on the variables of that trip.
Absolutely.
And we were on a trip where we had probably the least, I'd say, for us, because we generally like how we eat and at home, or even if we holiday alone, when we go away by ourselves, we still don't eat out a lot. We tend to purchase stuff and stay in places where we do have cooking facilities. Yeah. Because that's how we prefer to eat. Yeah. So it was quite different in terms for us for eating. But no matter where we go or what we do, it's just understanding what levers to pull and not being upset by the ones that you can't necessarily flex at that time.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, some people on holidays can't wait to not have to cook. They're like, oh, thank God we're going to, that's an area of their routine that they find challenging for whatever reason. And some people are the same with exercise. They're like, I'm looking forward to having just 5 days of relaxing, and it's what fills your cup as well. 5 days of relaxing actually sounds like my nightmare. So I look forward to doing a run along, Cable Beach, and you're getting out and into a new training environment, but other people love to read by the pool. So it really does depend on you and making sure that you get out what you need from the holiday. Just because it doesn't necessarily fit a healthy lifestyle doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's important that you have a refresh. It's what refreshes you.
Exactly. We were sitting by the pool and I was watching, there were quite a lot of young families, not school-aged kids, but younger.
There were almost zero school-aged kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of baby moons going on there.
Yeah, and there were lots of food being delivered to pool decks and drinks, and I was just like, and they'd be there all day. We couldn't stay at the pool all day. We'd die.
Well, I'd burn.
Yeah. I'd go to the gym, come back, everyone would still be there, loving life, next meal. But yeah, it really is what fills your cup. But being able to change. So even like my training, I did go to the gym a couple of times, but it wasn't what I'd typically do. Like, because it was so hot by the time I got to do my movement, because Ben's running was a priority in the morning before it got too hot. Like, I was running on a treadmill, and I don't really like running on a treadmill.
No, not your favourite.
Not my favourite. I did do it.
Yeah, well, better than nothing.
Yeah, better than
absolutely.
nothing. And I did enjoy it, and I still felt good after that. And I met a lovely older couple in the gym. They were there every time I went.
Yeah.
And
they tried to proposition her.
I actually said, I hope that is me when my partner and I are travelling, in 30 years from now. They were just so lovely. But yeah, just getting it done. And then also like seeing them later relaxing by the pool, having that nice balance. I just thought that, yeah, that's my type of holiday. Like, having, like relaxing, but also filling our cup in that consistency of what makes us feel good. Yeah.
They will certainly, there's a population up there that will certainly feature in the next Attenborough Migrations, the documentary. The amount of older people up there, it was a mass migration. But yeah, it's a phenomenal part of the world. People have been asking me to describe it, and I was it's so almost primal compared to down here, where it's like everywhere you look, it's like pretty easy to see how people die. Like either just 20 minutes off the path and it's like, I'm lost. And it's like, yeah, that's because the shrubs are head high and you can't see anything.
Funny, I described it as simple this morning.
Simple. Yeah, it was, I mean, there's no traffic lights, it's all roundabouts, but it's quite harsh in that way. With the crocs and the wildlife and the snakes and everything, you're like, oh, okay, I feel very much alive. Like, it'd be pretty hard to die in Ivanhoe, really. You'd have to make some serious errors along the way. But yeah, it was quite cool in that way. It was so different to what we're used to here. So to loop all the way back around to the question, the prioritizing of exercise over the prioritizing of food, it depends on the holiday and what you've got access to.
Yep.
If you were, just to give another example, if you were doing an around an Australia trip and you're going to spend a lot more time driving than you maybe would on other holidays, then prioritizing food probably would be a good example, because a good idea, because you are going to be eating 3 meals a day regardless, and your general movement is probably going to be a little bit down. So you can kind of flip and mix and match depending on your goal at the time, what you've got access to, the context of the trip is important. So the answer is super specific, but you need to have an idea of all the variables.
Yeah, and it's great when you have a coach during this time if you are traveling.
Yeah.
So quite often we'll discuss, sometimes even before people start with us, they'll be like, oh, I'm not sure if it's a good time.
Yeah.
I'm going on a holiday, or I've got XYZ coming up. And Ben, you're very good at navigating these conversations. And we always say
it's a simple question. It's just the question on the way back is just, when was the last time it was a good time? Like, there's never a good time. There's always going to be something.
Never a good time. And that's part of the coaching process, being able to come up with ways that you can adapt in life, because there will always be something popping up. So how can you navigate that? There is, coaching is just the prime of like bouncing off someone for absolutely everything. And sometimes it's not even us suggesting things. Sometimes just having that safe environment each week to come to, and people bouncing off us as they go through the journey. Quite often they come up with the answers during that process. Yeah,
and they just want confidence in their suggestions, like, am I on the right track?
Yeah.
And most of the time people are. Sometimes people are horribly off the right track, and then we're able to bring them back, to that path of clarity. But you're absolutely right. It's one thing to kind of have an idea of what you're going to do. It's another thing to have confidence in that idea, which then it kind of gives you a little bit more motivation to do it, instead of constantly second guessing yourself. So
the confidence.
Yeah.
It's
bottom line, coaching's good.
We were just reading a testimonial today, and that is one of my favourite things towards the end when people say how confident they are in their decisions.
Yeah. Well, it's the removal of stress. Like I talk about that a lot with people prior to them starting, is the amount of time their health and their body and their food and their typically lack of exercise, like the amount of bandwidth that takes up in their mind every day. If you can remove that, like it's like a load off the shoulders. It's just simplifying everything into, things that you can control, into a repeatable routine and structure that you can carry out in a holiday situation, in a home situation, in school holidays, over Christmas, over birthdays. It just simplifies everything so that you know what to do and you know when to do it. And you also know the results that it's going to get. You don't have to second guess. It's a massive mental load that a simplified system can have on your lifestyle. Should we move on to the next question?
Next one.
Often we will eat out at restaurants more frequently when traveling. Is it possible to consume more restaurant meals and still maintain a calorie deficit?
Absolutely.
Of course it's possible. Is it more difficult? Sure.
Yep.
Are there a few things that you might need to adjust? 100%. So most people typically follow a similar eating pattern when they're away compared to when they're at home, as in breakfast, lunch and dinner, maybe a snack or two thrown in. Now, what we know about eating out is that typically you can probably add 20 to 40%. We normally say like a 30% like calorie tax on the meals. Is that a burger you make at home is going to be less overall calories than a burger that you get out for a multitude of reasons. Different oil, higher fat content in the meat, like the different breads, maybe more sugar.
Everything's lower quality.
Typically, yeah, for sure.
Unless you're eating
like
at
fine
a place
dining
that is actually like the quality is their product.
Yeah.
And like when you eat at those places because that's how they market.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times we've said it, but restaurants do not care about your health.
No, they care about your taste buds, and it's not their job to look after you. So yeah, it's nothing against the industry as much as it is against they're trying to provide a fine dining experience and they want you to put it in your mouth and go, whoa, wow, that's awesome. And often the things that make us do that don't always necessarily line up with a healthy diet. No one's going to a restaurant and having chicken, rice and broccoli. They're going to a restaurant and having confit, whatever that is, the duck, shallots, a juice, and other stuff.
Shallots? How did you put shallots in there?
I was just trying to think of the stuff that we don't eat. Like stuff that we don't cook with.
That was a bit funny.
Yeah.
All the sauces.
Yeah. Alcohol.
Oh my goodness, alcohol's huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah, Danielle's just figuring out that alcohol's a big industry.
Oh
guys.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So yes, it's possible, but you will need to do some serious calorie shifting through the rest of your day to make it a reality. And that might mean a fairly simple one to try would be to maybe have some fruit for breakfast, have a main meal at around 11 a.m. and that, kind of swapping your day to maybe 2 larger meals instead of 3. Or you might need to really be mindful of your carbohydrate intake at meals 1 and 2 and have protein and fruit to then leave more calories for your last meal later on in the day.
Yeah, are you drinking? That is a big factor for a lot of people. It's not one for us, but I would say for probably 90% of the people we coach, that is a factor, alcohol.
Yeah, a huge factor. Yes, so there are lots of ways that you can kind of calorie budget to give yourself room to move at a dinner. Not all of them are easy to do. Like any kind of change to your routine is always a little bit jarring and maybe a little bit annoying. So it does depend on the holiday. Like if you're going away for 5 days, do you need to worry about it? Maybe not, depending on where you're at. If you're going away for 3 weeks, yes. So like that time you're away does matter. The context of the holiday matters a lot. I know we're kind of discussing these things and our answer always comes back to that famous it depends, but it really does. Like, there's no hard or fast rule here where it's like, if you want to be healthy, everyone going on holiday must do X, because that might be so far from your list of like values and priorities that you come home having a rubbish time, and that's not the point at all.
Exactly.
That's not the point at all. So it depends, but yes, it is possible. But I don't actually think for most people it should be encouraged unless it's a longer holiday. Because at the end of the day, we coach people who are after results for the long term and not the short term. And a year is 52 weeks long. Most people have 4 weeks of annual leave, of which maybe a couple of those weeks are, away outside of your normal environment, and normally a couple of them are at home, depending on the person. Is 2 weeks a year really going to be the difference that you're not at a healthy body weight and a healthy fitness level? No. So sometimes we need to focus more on a Wednesday in August and less on a Tuesday night in Noosa.
Yeah. And something else to be really aware of is, as you, again, the testimonial today actually made me think of it, as your normal changes, your preferences will change as well.
Oh, 100%.
So for someone like us who are very, we are well into our journey, we're very confident in the decisions we make for ourselves and our family.
Can I pull out my Harry Potter analogy?
Sure.
Yeah. No, well, this one, everyone gets this. It's like, when you compare yourselves to people who are quite proficient and different to where you are now, apples and oranges, like we have read Harry Potter 4 times. And I can quote some stuff word for word. You want to go trivia? We'll go toe to toe. But you might be just chapter 3, Philosopher's Stone. Like, you've just dipped your toe in the water. Don't hold yourself to a level that is, black belts, white belts. There are so many analogies you can use. You're on a journey and a path. It doesn't need to be, like, you don't need to forecast to where you feel you should be, just where you are now.
Exactly.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's okay. So, and it comes to how we prefer to eat looks disgusting to other people, right?
It looks boring to other people. That's what they say. Oh, you guys eat the same food a lot. And it's like, yep, man, I feel good.
Yeah. Like, I was talking to your mum about food on the holiday, because we ate a couple of dinners in our room with the kids. And we were talking about, I forget how it came up, and your mum goes, oh, I don't think I'm a better cook than a chef. And then I thought in my head later, because we think about food all the time, and I was like, I actually, I enjoy the food we eat. But obviously to other people, they're like, oh, what are you doing?
No, we're well aware that it's not got, but we get enjoyment out of the way we feel and the things we're able to do. Less so, fine dining, I tell everyone, it's a little bit lost on me.
Yeah.
I don't really appreciate the craft apart from, in the same way that I'll look at a painting and be like, oh yeah, cool, but it's not my go.
Yeah.
But, it's the different things we understand. If you are a foodie, then, experience foodie stuff. Watch MasterChef and, do all that stuff. I'd rather stick pins in my eyes than watch MasterChef. But also, I know that people would rather stick pins in their eyes than watch the last day of England versus India of the cricket, whereas I'm like, whew, this is good. So, everyone's into different stuff. We don't think we're better cooks than chefs. But
no, definitely not.
Well, yeah,
we're pretty basic.
I make a mean green curry, but... but it's the things that you enjoy, the way you feel, and the experiences that you like to have, and that's where it's like everyone's list of values is slightly different. I say to you all the time, Monday night, our pasta, our sauce is my favorite meal of the week. Now, it's not going to win MasterChef. No offense to you. It's a delicious sauce. It's a delicious sauce. But I just like the way it makes me feel. I know it's good as well. I know I'm eating something that is nourishing and furthering my health, which adds to the enjoyment for me.
Yeah. And that's one thing, I actually messaged Ben while we were away, and I've just been scrolling back in our work chat to find we would never, ever, ever book a holiday that did not have our room did not have cooking facilities.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a deal breaker for us.
It's simply not something that we could enjoy for longer than a weekend. Like an overnight stay, sure, we could stay in a room.
Yeah.
No problem. But for anything for an extended period where we required meals, especially for our family, like our kids are up early and wanting to eat, like nothing's open when when we get up. Just having food available is just so important, and we talk about that all the time as well. Same thing when you're away. What is available to you? Like, you still have a choice. You have a choice. We Ubered groceries to our resort.
Yeah. And there will be people listening to this who are like, what? I can't wait. No, I can't wait to stay somewhere where I don't have to cook. And both answers are fine. It just has to align with what you enjoy most of the time. So, yeah, it's sort of like, this has been the most vague explanation ever. So I'm like, are we giving people helpful tips here, or are we giving them more to think about? But the reality is the answers do lie in the grey. And I don't think enough people think about what they enjoy the most and what's going to help them feel the best on their holiday so that they do come back refreshed and feeling as though they have had a break, instead of just, we're going here and it's going to be nice.
Yeah.
And it will be nice. But there are levels to this game, I guess we're trying to say. Should we answer the last question we got, which doesn't have to do with holiday eating? Sure. This is a little bit more typical, I guess, of the day-to-day people who we work with and who we help. Question is, I forget to eat and then gorge myself until I feel sick. How do I stop doing this?
I love this. I love it.
I don't. This sounds horrible, but we're going to fix it.
We do a couple of exercises with people occasionally to help them identify their hunger cues. So a lot of the stuff we do and the habits we form come back to things from our childhood, to be honest, like how we were brought up. Like, we talk about snacking all the time, like having recess and afternoon tea. Like, as adults sitting down, we don't need. We don't require that energy anymore. But again, it's that behaviour that's been drilled into us for such an extended period of time. People just continue to do that.
Yeah.
So we do have a few exercises that help us identify, when I eat, am I actually hungry? After I've eaten, am I actually full? Or have I eaten too much?
Yeah.
So do you want to continue from here?
That's more the tactical side and that mindful element of how you feel before you eat. And I'll speak to a slightly different approach as well, is that we help clients put systems and routines in place to help them avoid this, because nothing kills a healthy diet like getting hungry. It turns us all into fools. And the reality is once we're hungry, and once you have, like you open up the chips and have a couple, it's really hard to stop at just a couple. And there is a delay from when we start eating to when our brain goes stop. And a lot of it is psychology, and a lot of it is the biology as well, of like chewing your food and giving your body time to signal and process how it feels. And that's why there's often kind of mindful eating practices like sitting at the table, don't be distracted, don't look at the TV, like focus on how you feel, and things like this, which sound a little Byron Bay, a little woo-woo, but they do really work when it comes to the psychology of your hunger cues. The other one is forgetting to eat.
What you're eating as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It plays a different role in our bodies, which causes a different reaction in our bodies, which is how we're feeling, which then affects the behaviour. Yeah,
and forgetting to eat is not normally that you've just been like, oh, it's 3 o'clock and I forgot to have lunch. It's typically a sign of stress. It's when your cortisol levels are elevated, which suppresses appetite. So to kind of protect yourself from this, you need to eat even if you aren't hungry, because it helps raise your insulin levels in the body, which then balances out the cortisol levels and kind of helps, I guess, recalibrate you a little bit in that regard. Now, if you've had a period of stress and it's like, oh God, I've missed lunch and it's now 3:30 and I'm going to have dinner at 5:30, do I need to have lunch? That's a different skill to kind of what's going to be a good decision now, as opposed to setting up your day with a routine and a schedule and you've got lunch ready. Maybe if you know you're prone to this, you've got a reminder on your phone at 1 o'clock, eat your lunch. Things like this just to help keep you balanced and in flow and as healthy as possible. Because if you do have, a good breakfast, a good lunch, a good dinner, you're not probably going to be as prone to binging if you're a little bit scatter with your meal routine and approach. So that's a big one, is relying on the routines and systems that you have in place to kind of protect you against that, as opposed to just relying on your discipline and willpower to kind of power through and make a good decision in the moment. Not many people are at that stage, especially when we start working with them. And it's usually things like this that leads them to feel as though they do need a little bit of help, and that's okay too.
Yeah, I would say that as well. That consistency with having the confidence to actually execute. So, like, people can do something for a day, or a week, but to consistently do that and be accountable for that, to then enforce that as a habit and a behaviour, is what we do.
Yeah. The James Clear has a great quote on it. I know we glaze him a little bit. The kids call it glazing, which is, you don't rise to the levels of your goals, but you fall to the levels of your systems. And it's just having things in place to kind of protect you from motivation swings or times of busy and things like that, just to keep you ticking along and not constantly having to have your meals and your health at the forefront of your mind every time you pull out a knife and fork. Yeah. It makes things hard. If you do feel a little bit out of whack with that, and as though you are kind of having to mentally G yourself up not to smash a block of Cadbury every meal, then please send us a message. This is what we do every day. We will help you, and we'll help you make it feel easy too. Anything you'd like to add? No? All good. Guys, as always, topics, questions, hit us up anytime. Hopefully I feel like we've just planted 100 questions into your mind as to what you might do on your next holiday. But if this does give you kind of something to think about, especially our Strong Parent Project, guys, if you've got a holiday coming up and you want to kind of pick our brains on how it might look, then this is great. Great fodder for your weekly coaching appointments. So make sure you flag that with us.
I've actually got one this week.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Good
timing.
Maybe we'll use it as a case study. All right. Have a good day.
Bye.